I've had so much fun today that I'm forgetting the basic requirements of wearing my headset. Thank you for reminding me. In any case, I just want to reiterate on the microphone now that I appreciate you all coming today and bringing your goodness and your sincerity to this place. Because we have a building here, but it's a difference between a house and a home, right? A house becomes a home when people bring their goodness to that place. They bring their tradition to that place. They bring themselves to that place. And so I was talking to the director, Chuck, the other day, and was saying that, giving him an observation that my husband had made, which was that the new building was really inspiring a lot of people to become more deeply involved in their own practice and more involved in helping us take care of this amazing place. It's like a gift. I'll never forget one of the first times I took a new person on a tour of the new building when it was new in March of 2022, and they said, "Wow, it's almost like it manifested by magic." And I said, "Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it?" Not mentioning the years of planning and the years of fundraising and so forth, but it does seem a little bit like magic that we now have this place. It is nothing short of miraculous. People tell me that they feel good when they come into the place and they feel like they want to stay. In fact, we have some people who just they come and they say, "I don't want to leave." I'm not exactly sure what this is, but I'll tell you what my guess is. My guess is that it has to do with all of the blessings that have been placed on this property over the years. When we purchased the property in 1990, the neighborhood was quite different, and we even had people who were not happy we were here. There were two episodes in which people shouted at us from the street about needing to follow a different religion and things like that. But that resolved fairly quickly. After a few years here, we didn't hear that anymore, and now people come to a Buddhist temple in this neighborhood like it's the most natural thing in the world. And I think that is the difference between a house and a home. We have this amazing building, and now it's our work to fill it with our practice of meditation and our practice of goodness and our practice of kindness toward each other and so on. So it's my hope that this development continues and continues and continues. The more of us who practice in this community and in this place, the better. And so I want to thank all of you for being part of the blessing of this land. Yes, we had great lamas visit in the little old wooden church. We had the lineage master, His Eminence Taisi Rinpoche, visited this property while I was in 3-year retreat. I missed that one. There's a lot of funny stories about that visit. We'll have to ask Paul Volcker to share them with us because he was part of the organizing group at that time, and it had something to do with our electricity being turned off for non-payment right when he was arriving. Anyway, but so he came, and I know, and then we've had so many other lamas, and we've done retreats in the little old church, and we did all kinds. In fact, the week before the fire destroyed the building in 2016, we did a one-day Amitabha retreat, all day. We did Amitabha, the long Amitabha practice all day long, made special offerings and everything. It was amazing. So this is what causes a place to become a sacred space and a safe place where people want to come and don't want to leave. The other aspect, of course, is all of the statuary and all of the artwork, which was created for the purpose of meditation and Dharma. And the statuary itself is all filled with rolls of mantras representing the Dharma. And then the Buddha and the Sangha are represented by relics that are inside each statue. So each statue is, I guess you could say, an encapsulation of all the presence of the three jewels. Before these statues are put into service, so to speak, a master recites prayers, invites the Buddhas to be present within the statue, and then imagines that the Buddhas are present there. And my teacher, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, used to say, I know many people say to me the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas aren't real. I know. He says, I get a little tired of hearing people say they're like Jungian archetypes and things like that. But he said, they're real. There are enlightened beings. And when you ask them to come to you, they come to you. And when you ask them to stay, they stay, and so on. He said, that's why holy places become holy places, and why holy people become holy people is because over and over again they invite the Buddhas to be present. So I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the specialness of this place and thank all of you for making it so special and bringing your own goodness to it. This is going to be an abbreviated Dharma talk. Because we've already had you away from home long enough. But I wanted to sort of piggyback on yesterday's presentation about the one change we need to make for the year. I wanted to piggyback on that to say the one skill, we talk about the one skill we need to develop this year. What we talked about yesterday from the spirituality point of view was the value of making the internal wish, may everything I do today benefit beings in some way, and may we all become Buddhas. That's this interior wish to be of benefit to everyone you meet, so that you can actually sort of become, what's the right word? You can become a source of blessing and a source of inspiration for other people in this way. Well, you'll probably hear another talk on this topic in the future, because when I was reading and studying the book on karma by Tralek Rinpoche this past spring and summer, I taught a class on it for KTD Monastery on Zoom. It made me read all the way through the book. I'm kind of a lazy book reader. I'll read the beginning and then I won't read the end. But this class forced me to finish the book. And while I was helping other people study it, I came across a really inspiring quote, a couple of really inspiring quotations, and by Tralek Rinpoche. And one of the things he said the teachings on karma, the Buddha's teachings on karma, he said they cause a lot of confusion for people. Because a lot of people say that karma is, what goes around comes around, and all of this kind of thing. And he says that some people even treat it like it's about predestination and all of this kind of stuff, that the future is already determined and there's no such thing as free will and all of that jazz. And he said, but it's not like that at all. He said the Buddha, it's rooted in the Buddha's teaching that we are not entities. Now this may sound like we're going to do a little hair splitting here, but the previous belief by many people was that the spirits or souls of individuals were created by a God, and that God created the spirit of a person, and that spirit remained the same and never changed. That spirit was an entity, a being, and it never changed. But the Buddha, after he attained his spiritual awakening, he came back from that spiritual awakening and began teaching. He said, that was not how I experienced my mind at all. I experienced my mind, he said, as a stream of being. He actually used the words for river or stream. You know, I experienced it as a stream of being. And that I was not a fixed entity that never changed. Rather, I am a dynamic process. Rather than being a person, I'm a process. And that I can guide that stream. I can guide that stream. I can put things into and take things out of that stream every moment of every day. I can take things out and put things in. It's like the old saying, you can never step in the same river twice, because it literally has changed from the moment that you touched it, and 5 seconds later, even 1 second later, it's moved on and it's a different river. And so some people hearing this explanation get a little bit they get a little concerned, because entity makes us feel comfortable. Being an entity makes us feel really comfortable, and that being a process and not an individual is a little scary. But the fact of the matter is, we are discrete individuals. We just don't exist as an entity per se. We're always reinventing ourselves. You could really put it that way. We are continuously reinventing who we are. Yes, who we used to be does form the basis for who we are today, but it's endlessly possible, endlessly and limitlessly changeable. So people may come and say, well, I have this habit, I want to get rid of this habit. And that's great, because habits are what keep this stream of being together. The habits are what form it. And so whatever habits we have, that's almost like what encloses that river, the banks of that river, as it were, are determined by our habits. And so this is why the great teachers say, do no harm, practice virtue, and tame your mind. Doing no harm, you're not harming yourself, you're not harming others. Practicing virtue means you take care of yourself and you benefit others. And taming your mind means to meditate, so you become aware of the process and can participate in it more fully. It's really interesting to think that we are actually an activity. We are a process, we are a verb. We are always changing and always developing. And that nothing stays the same. Everything is continuously changing and hopefully growing. So in this way, Tralik Rinpoche in his book says that we can change anything. We have sort of infinite. We have some habitual tendencies, yes, but we can look at them and make the decision we want to change them. And he said that means we have limitless possibility as individuals within ourselves. So I wanted to explain that little part of the book, because it forms the basis for the skill I wanted to talk about. The skill that I wanted to talk about is related to this idea of being a process rather than an entity. Because he said something else later in the book, Tralik Rinpoche says something else later in the book that just made me incredibly happy. He said, a lot of people think, oh, my karma of the past has given me so many gifts. You know, like I'm financially independent, or they'll say, I have a lot of friends, or they'll say, I have good health, and so forth and so on. And that all of these things they see as the fruition of their good karma of the past. And they feel kind of happy about that. And they rejoice in that. And then Tralik Rinpoche says, well, all of that is nice. It's nice to have financial independence, and it's nice to, to have friends and good health. All of that's nice. He said, but he said, from my point of view, as an older person, an older a middle-aged person, because he died in his 50s. He said, from my vantage point, he said, there's an even bigger gift your karma can give you, and that gift is adaptability. Adaptability. And it's like, that just really struck me. Because, oh, sure, it's great to be beautiful and have wealth and to have health and good friends, and that's all good. But what's really going to help you in difficult times is adaptability. He said, if you can enter a situation and not have it freak you out and be able to maintain a solid center while everything is chaotically whirling around you, if you can hold your place and be adaptable to what life is throwing at you, he said, that's a fantastic thing. Now, I personally believe it can be learned, but it takes a long time. He didn't make any comments about that, but my experience with adaptability myself is that it's evolving. It's an evolving thing. And it starts with our practice of meditation. Because when we meditate, when we first start meditating, we almost feel like, I don't know what your experience was like, but I almost felt like I had no control over my thoughts. They would be coming at me, shoo, 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 and it was like freaky. It was like, it's like Saturday night at the movies in my head. And I felt like my thoughts were totally out of control. But as I practiced the discipline of meditation, which is noticing distraction, discarding it, and then returning your attention, noticing, discarding, and returning over and over and over again, I found that I could work with my mind. My mind was more workable after I was able to do that. Just learn that little skill. And to me, that little skill is the birth of adaptability. If a big, ugly thought, and you've all had them, I'm sure, a big, ugly, hairy thought comes at you in meditation, at first it bowls you over, and you go down a rabbit hole with it. But after a while, it gets easier to let them go and just say, oh, that's not what I'm doing right now. I'm not figuring out that old thing, or I'm not doing that old thing. I'm just going to come back. And so coming back again and again and again, we find we could let that stuff go. Who knew? Who knew we could let that stuff go? Wow. And if we can let one thing go, that means that gradually we can let things that are more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. We will probably always have things that we can never let go of. We'll probably all have something like that. But I'm not sure that there's anything that's beyond our ability to let go. I don't think there is anything beyond it. And the reason I think this is because everybody dies. And because as people approach the end of their life, they have to let everything go. Everything. And so I think we have the capacity, because of necessity, to let things go. We have the capacity because of necessity. We have no choice. My husband makes a joke sometimes. He says, you'd be surprised what you're capable of if you have no other choice. When you realize you have no choice. It's amazing what you can do, he said. But this adaptability for us begins in that moment of meditation when a big, ugly thought comes our way, and we say, not now. And it disappears back down into the central casting office of our mind. It waits for its turn to return, But I feel that we're not very good at adaptability at first, but we try to get better. And we need support while we're learning adaptability. We need friends, we need counselors, we need family, we need all kinds of external supports. We need community to help us as we work toward adaptability. And that's why places like this are so valuable to us, because we're all trying to do the same things, you know. And so I just wanted to tell those two stories, the one about our mind being a stream and that we can endlessly put things in and take things out to make change on a regular basis, that we all have the capacity for Buddhahood, and that is what helps to guide us at the very basis of all of these thoughts, is this mind that has wisdom and can know itself. And also I wanted to talk a little bit about adaptability, because if we can adapt to the things that happen to us and find a way to transcend and transform our thoughts and emotions, then that's a really valuable thing. And this is why the mind training teachings of Lojong, L-O means training, means mind, and Jong, J-O-N-G, means training. So mind training. Some people call it thought transformation. And regardless of what term we use, the most recent term I heard for it was refining the mind. I like that one too. Like refining gold, we're refining the mind. And by doing these practices, which are based on love and compassion for ourselves, developing love and compassion for ourselves and our own faults and failings, and then developing compassion for others with their faults and failings. You know, learning how to accept and love ourselves, we gradually learn how to love and accept others. And because I feel like we need to learn these teachings on mind training, so that even if the worst kinds of thing could happen to us, that we would be all right, because it would be something we could do. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And I wanted to keep the teaching short, so that people would have time. We have about maybe not quite 10 minutes to have a discussion. Because we have two microphones. Hey, you're great. So, and if anybody has a story or to share, or if they just want to ask a question, or they're scratching their head about something that was said, like, what did that mean? You can feel welcome to come up and ask. We've got 2 mics. Yeah. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I know you can aim it down. I love the new microphone stands. They're fabulous. Yeah.
The thought that was going through my head as I was listening to you this morning, and you were thanking us for our sincerity and our energy and just coming back at you. Just thank you for being a space and a place and a refuge throughout potentially a disconnected, crazy week, to be able to have just this, and I've started coming since November, and every single time that I'm here, I leave, I am just set for the whole day.
Oh,
I'm just set up. So
yes.
That just was my thought as I was listening to you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, because I remember how good it felt. I just want to thank you for saying that, because I remember how good it felt to come to the little living room in the campus district. I mean, the first place I visited was somebody's living room, and the couple who ran the place, they were kind of hippies, and kind of university people, kind of hippies, and they said, well, let's just chant Chenrezig in our living room. So we did it every Thursday night. And my friends at work would say, boy, we like you better on Friday mornings. We do not know what you're doing, but must be good. So yeah. I think you're speaking to something that's really, I think, the case for all of us, because the world is kind of crazy and disconnected right now. And then weeks like this where we get pulled out of our reality by the holidays, that can, and there's a lot of of mixed feelings. There's some people are experiencing grief and loss right now, so it's a little hard for them on the holidays. And so it's really good that, yeah, I know, it's good that we've been able to be here for everybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lama Kathy.
Yeah.
With my father's recent death, I'm finding it was peaceful, and I'm at peace with my dad. But I'm finding I have a lot of anger, not towards my father, but towards my siblings.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not them. I know it's me. But one of my goals for this year is to transform my anger in some ways. I just don't want to be angry.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for how to do that this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I really admire this question, because there are so many people among my circle of friends who are experiencing loss at this time, and mixed feelings of all kinds.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you bringing them here. I feel like when we lose our parents, my own counselor said to me that it's almost like we've lost a still point in our turning world when we lose our parents, and there's nothing that affects us quite the same way. And I think that because we have history with all of the members of our family, that at times like this, all of that history, which we tend to move to the side, you know, like, oh, this thing happened and I didn't like it, or this thing happened and I didn't like it, but we just kind of push it to the side because we're busy doing other things, and we don't need to deal with that, right? But it could be that in this quiet moment, I don't know for sure, but I'm just making a guess that some of those old historical hurts are just kind of surfacing, and you're seeing patterns in their behavior and so forth that remind you of something negative, right? So I'm wondering, my initial thought about this is that in the mind training tradition, in the thought transformation tradition, one of the ways we work with difficult feelings is that we stop. We actually take one step back from the feeling, because usually a feeling is accompanied by a story. Mm-hmm. I am feeling sad because, or I am feeling angry because. And when we're in the story, it's almost like that legend from the Bible, Jonah in the belly of the whale or something. He got swallowed by a whale. Yeah. I mean, we feel like we're inside something that we can't get out of. But because we know that mind is malleable and changeable, we can actually take one step back. When we feel the hook, mm-hmm. The Tibetans have a word for this. They call it Shenpa, Shenpa. When we feel that tug of pain, mental or physical pain that comes from these feelings, when we feel the tug of that, being hooked of Shenpa, then we can actually make a prayer right then. May I be free of these kinds of feelings. May I find a way through these feelings, because every feeling is impermanent. It's impermanent. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But we don't know that because we're used to grabbing them and them going down the drain with them, right? So if we step back, just like a figurative stepping back, and say, you know, I'm feeling really angry right now. So here's what I'd like to do. I would like to make the aspiration that I am free from this in the future, and that all people who are feeling this right now, may they all be free from it too. And may we all become Buddhas, which is the ultimate transcendence. Something like that. But because this also has to do with people who are close to you, who you will see again and again, my teacher gave me a form of compassion meditation that is helpful for difficult situations. And there are a couple of different ways to do it. I'll give you the easy one first. The easy one is to imagine all the people with whom you are in conflict. To just, when you're meditating, just imagine, use your imagination to place them before you. And then in the sky above their head, you can imagine a bright light. That bright light could be the Buddha Shakyamuni. That bright light could be the compassion Buddha Chenrezig, or the swift heroine Green Tara. And you see light coming from the form of that Buddha and pouring down on the people you're in conflict with, and make the aspiration, may their hearts and minds be changed. And then you imagine the Buddha dissolves into them and blesses them. And I think that's the easiest way to do this, because we ourselves may not have compassion for them right now. We may not feel that we are capable of compassion for them right now, but we can bless them every day. And I think that's the easiest way to do this kind of practice. Folks who are familiar with the 12-step recovery tradition, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's an exercise in which you pray for someone for 30 days. Mm-hmm. And for that 30-day period, every day you pray for them to have everything that you have, all the goodness you have and so forth in your life, you pray for them to have. And at first it seems like it's, one teacher called this type of practice reversing ego fixation's logic. Because ego fixation says, all for me, none for them, right? May I have happiness, but may they suffer. That's ego, right? That's our ego fixation. But if we turn that on its head, we realize that by wishing bad for them, we are actually hurting ourselves.
Yes.
So if we wish good for them, at the very least, we won't be hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the very best, they may never change, and we can't. My teacher said, don't expect that doing this practice for someone will change them. It will not necessarily change them at all, but what it will change, he said, will be the part of them that's in you. Because we hold a resentment against them inside ourselves, and by gifting them in this way over and over and over, we're slowly healing that resentment within ourselves, because you can't both gift somebody and hate on them at the same time. So I think I'll just stop there, but there's a more complex way of doing the practice, but I think that's the easiest.
Thank you.
I wish you all goodness with that, because any person who's been in a, situation.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay, did you have another question? Oh, okay, oh, thanks, yeah. There's time for one more. Is there one more? Okie doke.
Good morning,
Yeah,
Lama Kathy.
Good morning.
If I walked away with something very valuable this morning, it was probably knowing it's hard to connect with all my Dharma family that I've met in my life. So to know by lighting a candle that everybody else is doing it, that really connected me with the people that I've met. And so thank you for that. And I've always loved, from the first one I went to, First Light. And so what a way to really bring in a new year.
Right.
And also to help with negativity.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That, it's a crazy world right now.
Right.
But somehow lighting that lamp just seems to make it all better. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think, You know, for me, it's we have Buddha nature, but it's for us. It's the whole idea of having Buddha nature, having the capacity to become a Buddha ourselves. It's kind of an abstract idea for us. It's a theoretical, abstract idea because we look in the mirror and we don't see a Buddha, you know, when we look in the mirror. But I feel that somehow deep within us we know it's true. And the more we can act as if we know we have this. And I mean, every faith tradition in the world believes this. I mean, there's that Christian hymn, "This little light of mine, let it shine." I mean, everybody believes in this. Everybody believes that there is some spark of goodness within us that can bring about change within us, and it can be nurtured and expanded and can grow. So, I see good thinking. Yeah, Julaine is passing among you and bringing prayers that we'll say we'll kind of close out the morning. I'm just so glad we had this. Thanks to all the volunteers who got up and came in here early. I'm thinking Julaine, and I'm thinking Olivia and the rest of the team, everybody. You know, Dawn coming in and Ron being here on the front door for so long. It was just amazing. And gosh, all the helpers who just came and rearranged the furniture while we were downstairs eating, and all the people who brought food. So I just want to thank all of you. Oh, yes, please. Thank you. You're the best. Yeah. She's the best. Yeah. Okay. We'll recite the prayers of dedication in English to imagine that we are expanding the benefit of this little light of ours to fill the entire universe. We'll start with the words, "By this merit." By this merit, may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy, wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. The courageous Manjushri, who knows everything as it is, Samantabhadra, who also knows in the same way, and all the bodhisattvas that I may follow in this path, I completely dedicate all this virtue. Okay. Thanks, all of you, and I hope you take your light into the new year. And so thanks for attending today, and thanks to all of our friends who are joining us online. Really appreciate being able to join you today, so thank you. And thank you, Mr. Soundman.